What's up guys, it's Mr. Pokemyths, and today I'm going to be theorizing where ghost-type Pokemon come from. So let's just get started. To clarify, when I say that I'm going to be theorizing where ghost Pokemon come from, I don't mean, for example, the Pokemon Tower. I mean, how did ghost-type Pokemon actually come into existence in the first place? One theory is that ghost-type Pokemon are Pokemon or humans that did bad things during their lives and were thus condemned to spend an eternity on our plane. Some appear as their natural spirit form, and some try to possess other objects. I believe that there are three different levels of spirits in the Pokemon world. Those that have successfully possessed objects, those that have partially succeeded in possessing objects, and those that have not possessed objects at all. Completely successful possession would be like Voltorb and Cloyster. If you don't know what I'm talking about, this was actually in my very first video ever. I talked about how Voltorbs are actually Pokeballs that were possessed by Haunter, and how Cloysters are actually Shelders that were possessed by Ghastly. If you're thinking, well, Voltorbs and Cloysters aren't ghost type, well that's because the possession was 100% successful. The spirit has found new life in their new body, and they have no need for their spirit powers. Next we have spirits that were mostly successful in their possession, like Golett and Honedge. Because what they chose to possess wasn't a living thing and wasn't some sort of computer program, they still require their ghostly powers to be able to function in their new body. But because their possession was mostly successful, Ghost is only their secondary type. A similar example would be Jellicent. It possessed some kind of jellyfish Pokemon, and chose to keep the water type so that it could best adapt to its surroundings. The last two examples of this type of possession would be Banette and Shedinja. Banette is a spirit that has possessed a doll. It stays a pure ghost-type Pokemon because dolls don't really have a corresponding type. Shedinja is a spirit that has possessed the shedded skin of a Nincada or Ninjask. Without its ghost typing, it would remain motionless. Pokemon that are primarily ghost type and appear to have possessed different items are most likely spirits that had unsuccessful possessions. For example, Litwick. It still remains as a spirit, so it takes the form of a candle so it can burn the life force of living things. Many other ghost-type Pokemon do similar things to burning life force. It is said that Drifloons steal children, likely so that they can absorb their life force. Continuing on with the life force burning thing for a second, Misdreavus has one Pokedex entry from Pokemon Pearl version that stands out from all the other Pokedex entries. Most of the games say that Misdreavus just likes to play tricks on people. However, its entry in Pokemon Pearl version says, quote, "It gets nourishment from fear that it absorbs into its red orbs. In daytime, it sleeps in darkness." End quote. That seems to prove that certain spirits have to burn the life force of living things to keep their souls from dying. Now, going back to the unsuccessful possession thing, I have definitive proof that ghost-type Pokemon in certain forms are actually spirits that possessed objects. Or at least tried to. Phantump and Pumpkaboo's Pokedex entries say that they are spirits that possess stumps and pumpkins respectively. The spirits that become Phantump are seemingly human children, according to its Pokedex entries. But as for Pumpkaboo, it could be either human or Pokemon spirits. Duskull and Yamask are spirits that picked up parts of their old body. Yamask picked up its face, and Duskull picked up its skull. This could possibly mean that the spirits are still in denial about their death, and they are trying to re-merge with their body. It seems possible that these types of spirits originated in ancient Egypt, because when Duskull evolves, it takes a mummy-like appearance in Dusclops, and when Yamask appears, it turns into a Cofagrigus, which looks exactly like a sarcophagus. Also, by the way, Cofagrigus' Pokedex entry proves my life force thing, because they swallow those who get close to them and turn them into mummies. Anyway, mummification and getting placed in a sarcophagus are both things that happened to the rich in ancient Egypt. So it would make sense that the spirits would take these forms. A lot of people have made jokes about taking a dust cloth and putting on top of Rotom to make a Shuppet. Now, I do not believe that this is true, but I do believe that Shuppets and Rotoms were originally the same type of spirit. I believe that Shuppets are spirits that took some kind of cloth and put it over themselves to hide their new form, likely because they were ashamed of being a spirit. Rotoms would have been spirits that chose not to cover themselves, and then using their spirit powers somehow managed to merge with certain electronics. What would prove my theory here would be a baby Pokemon that evolved into both Shuppet and Rotom, that was uncovered but not an electric type. But of course that will never happen. Now, I also believe Gengars to be Clefables that have died. Now, some of you may be wondering that if Gengar is indeed a dead Clefable, how is it possible that Pokemon like Gastly and Haunter exist? I believe it is possible that eggs of Ghost-type Pokemon are really just means of spirits re-entering this world. It's also possible that spirits that have come back to the world as Ghost-type Pokemon reproduce and produce entirely new things. For example, Gastlys would be the children of dead Clefables, aka Gengars, but then they wouldn't ever have been a living thing, they would be an entirely new organism. Finally, we have Spiritomb. Some of its entries say that it was bound to the Odd Keystone for misdeeds 500 years ago, but other entries say that it was actually 108 different spirits that were all bound together in the Odd Keystone. If you somehow still didn't think that ghost Pokemon were actually spirits, this is further proof that ghost Pokemon are actually spirits. Before I wrap this up, I would just like to theorize where I think Giratina's ghost type comes from. Since Giratina is an evil Pokemon, it is often paralleled with death. It is possible that that is where its ghost type comes from, that it just rules over all dead Pokemon. But it is also possible that it gained its ghost type when it was banished to the Antimatter universe by Arceus. Alright guys, that's all I have for this theory. If you have any other theories about where ghost type Pokemon come from, be sure to leave them in the comments section below. I'm really sorry that this video is up so late. I actually started recording this a couple weeks ago, but then I got strep throat. And I'm sorry, but I couldn't record or edit or anything when I had strep throat. So I apologize for that, but I'm all better now, and I'm getting this video up. Be sure to leave in the comments what you think my next video should be, and remember to like and subscribe. See you next time.